This episode is brought to you by Target Corned Beef and Naturally Almond. Parenting is an adventure, and like any other adventure, you've got to work hard and be prepared.
The quest is on.
We're in search for all things parenting. We hear from the kids, from the professionals, and from you, real parents on real issues. It's all happening right here, right now on Care.
Care, the adventures of parenting.
Hi, welcome to Care. Today it is the last episode for season 1, and I've saved the best for last. Homeschooling in Trinidad and Tobago. Before we get into homeschooling, I just want to thank our sponsors for season 1. We of course want to thank Guardian Media Family for having us. Target Corned Beef, ICANN, Look Opticians, and Naturally Almond. We could not have done it without your support, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, thank you to our fans who continue to write in, who continue to send lots of support to us on social media. If you're not locked in on social media, of course, check us at Care Parenting. Gonna introduce our panel right away. We have Freddie. I'm told to call her Tony. First, she has to explain to us why we're calling her Tony, even though her name is Frederick. I mean, after her mother, who's on set, but we're gonna introduce her in a bit. Give her such a lovely name. She says she's gonna have to call her Tony. Tony is actually a past homeschooler. So you guys get to see what a past homeschooler looks like, you know, in the flesh. It's not a theory. You see, look, she old, you know. Not so old, but you know. She ain't still 2 years old and 3 years old, so I'll bring a finished product for all you. We have a board member of the Homeschooling Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, guys, we have an association. We're in like all over the place. Lyndon Mitchell and Tony's mommy, the one responsible for raising such a wonderful young lady, Bernadette Francis. Also a member of the Homeschooling Association. You're the corporate secretary. Yes. And the one who's responsible for answering all the emails and all the questions. I think she deserves a medal for that. I think how often do you spend answering questions on a daily basis?
Generally, I'm the one that takes the telephone calls. So from 2 to 6, Monday to Thursday, I'm generally on the phone.
Wowzers.
Yes.
So that means that there is a high demand, at least for the information. People are out there trying to get the information.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get into our questions, we have something called Parenting Views. Parenting Views is where we take to the street and we ask men and women on the street their opinions, because then of course we can get an idea, a feel for what people out there think. The question this week was, would you homeschool your child and why?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see what the man on the street have to say. Parenting Views. If you could homeschool your children, would you, and why?
No, I don't think I could. I personally believe that development means that you have to have people there to help, and getting assistance from elsewhere is good. It's beneficial. It's a lot of time consuming as well, being if, let's say, we have to work or anything like that, you know. So I think homeschooling for some parents might be okay, but for most, I believe outside is better.
No, I wouldn't homeschool my child. I think it's very important that they interact with other people, other children, and have some different experiences from the home life.
No, I will send my child to school, make he get more education.
I believe in the public, service. But if I could, had the means to, I see why not, because, we have a lot of successful stories where school kids did pretty good.
If you could homeschool your child, would you, and
yes,
why?
Yes, I would.
Why?
Because I could be as most influential as I can, rather than an institution.
Well, we know your answers. You guys would choose yes.
Yes.
What do you
Yes,
think
we
about
did.
what we've just heard? Some, of course, think that they need to be integrated. I like the last person who said, he has a little bit more control. What was your reason for starting, Bernadette? Why did you start homeschooling? I mean, you've done it long before it became a fad.
Well, I started homeschooling when I had one child, which would have been Frederick. I went on to have 5. I had two main reasons for wanting to homeschool. One was to ensure that as I raise our children, that I can teach them moral principles. Academic excellence, yes, but that moral principle, I wanted the opportunity, like that gentleman said, to influence my child. Other than that, Frederick was a bright girl, and she moved a little faster than the classroom did. She did go to a private school that was a very good private school, but she got bored easily, and she's not a quiet child. So along the way, I heard about homeschooling, and it became an option.
So that's how long ago? How many years ago?
That is about 17 years
17
and counting.
years ago.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. So you're a real expert in this field.
A little
Lyndon, why did
experience.
you guys decide to homeschool?
Well, my wife and I had the typical concerns about the public school system and whether we thought another person would have had the proper influence of our children. And there were a few reasons we chose to go the route of homeschooling. One, because we are very concerned about the moral compass of our children. And so we knew that we had a wonderful opportunity in their early years to influence them morally. Secondly, we felt that giving special attention to the overall education of our children is really our primary responsibility. And so it's not really the responsibility of someone else or an institution to do that. And we took the challenge 11 years ago, and it's been wonderful ever since.
Do you find, oh gosh, Bernard, you must have gotten some stares. What was the reaction to people, from people when you guys said, okay, well, we're going to homeschool?
Well, I heard some of the comments from the people you interviewed on the street. The child needs to be properly socialized. Are you crazy? That is illegal. It is not. In Trinidad, it's perfectly legal to homeschool. So those were a couple of the pushbacks that I got, particularly on the socialization.
The socialization.
I very patiently...
We're gonna debunk some of those myths when we come back.
Okay.
So don't go too deep into that. Then what was your experience? Because you're saying some things that I think are very bold in terms of, it's your responsibility as parents. And we don't hear that so often again,
Yes, yes. Well, there is some convincing to do both with friends and family members because it's expected that you send your child to a public school. And my wife and I obviously would have gone through a public school system. And so we had to deal with our own misconceptions about the process and help our friends and family members to understand that this is something doable. And the issues surrounding socialization and the legal matters and so on are issues that we have thought through and we have seriously considered, and it is the better route for us.
When we come back, we're going to hear from Tony. You're going to tell me if you're going to homeschool your child, yeah?
Sure. No
and
problem.
do we need to put earmuffs on your mom?
No, it's fine.
No?
It's
Okay.
fine. It's fine.
Don't go anywhere, guys. Today it's all about homeschooling in TnT. You're watching K. Welcome back to K. Today it is all about homeschooling in TnT. It is becoming what I think the new fad. A lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. A lot of people with the SCA, they're not comfortable with the system as it is. And so 17 years ago, it was like, are you crazy?
Yes.
Now you find that people seem to be wanting to go down that route. That does not make me comfortable, I will be honest. I'm really happy you guys had foresight to form the association. And I am pushing, hoping, that we can streamline things because it gets me. I see things on Facebook all the time. Some people answer questions and then you really kind of go, breathe,
Yes.
breathe. Because one mishap and, everything gone, right? And instead of the government saying, okay, let's sit and fix it, somebody might just go, no, it's done, we're done, and so I am really grateful for the association. so that we do have a legal arm and whatnot. We're going to go into the association a little bit. But we want to give Tony some time to talk because, you know, do we need to go and get headphones for her or something? You know, it's fine.
No, it's
because
fine.
you can back, yeah, so back talk.
Yeah,
but you can say, you know,
it's
okay.
fine.
Homeschooling, what was it like? Would you recommend it? Did you like it? So, you know, would you rather that your mother did not do it? Are we crazy?
I like to call myself a homeschooling advocate, and I'm always one of those persons whenever I hear a conversation about homeschooling and it's usually in a sort of a negative tone of things, I like to jump in and say, no, you know, it's a good thing. I really enjoyed my homeschooling experience. I remember that when I went back out into secondary school, I sort of wanted to go back in, and there are lots of things that I appreciated about homeschooling that I know I would not have been able to have done if I was in the public schooling system.
And by public school, we mean public, private,
yeah, public,
just
private,
the non-homeschooling.
Yes,
Right,
non-homeschooling. So I appreciated the fact that I was allowed to move at my own pace. So if there was a topic that gave me a little trouble, I could have started a little while, but most times I would grasp things very easily. So I was allowed to move forward as I pleased. The other thing I appreciated, it wasn't 8 to 2, is that how school runs? Yeah, 8 to 2.
Too long, or that's
Yeah,
all I know.
too long.
Too long.
It was, you had this amount of work to complete every year, which means you had to do maybe like however many pages out of your workbook. So I used to wake up at 5 in the morning, and by the time my dad was ready to go to work, I was done, and I had the whole day to myself, whether it was to go do some extracurriculum, swimming, piano, visit neighbors, go check some cousins. I had a lot more freedom, or maybe a lot more time to be a child instead of being put in a schooling institution to sit down for all these hours or whatever.
You have some problem socializing?
My dad thinks that I should socialize a little less. So I don't think I have a problem there. I do recall that people would ask me that question when I went out into secondary school, and one of the things that I found is that I had a lot more friends when I was homeschooled than when I was in the schooling system.
Wow.
And one of the things that I think accounts for this is that when you put children in an environment where everyone is their age, it creates a sense of competition and a need to be number one. So people that you think are your friends aren't really your friends, or you're always striving to be better than the next person instead of getting the support that you're supposed to get from an actual friend. And I think I had a lot more genuine friends, as well as I had more confidence to, you know, if I see somebody walking down the street, or if I go off to the playground, or if I'm in swimming, to walk up to someone, talk to them, and make a connection.
You know, that's a theory of mine. I say, actually, I think homeschoolers are more, like, better socialized, because in school you're accustomed to a clique. So you're accustomed to this group of friends and this teacher and these people.
Yes.
Whereas homeschoolers, I mean, Jessie has no choice but to go and find people to play with. You know, I mean, she has no choice, no matter the age, no matter the class, the race, the anything. She had to go play with them. You know,
I think that's one of the great things of homeschooling is that it allows for what we like to call vertical socialization instead of the horizontal.
Fancy names for it.
She was homeschooled.
Yeah, so you learn how to interact with people younger than you, people older than you.
Yes.
I remember being homeschooled, and I was friends with Anya, and she was 2, 3. I was feeding her bottle, and now, you know, we can have a conversation now. I had friends that were much older than me.
Anya would be his daughter.
Yeah.
Anya would be his daughter.
I had adults as friends. I had a wide range of friends. So you were...
What you just said, and that what I like about it is that you refer to knowing Anya from age 2.
Yeah.
So there is actually long-term friendships as well, not just the socialization and meeting people in the park. But I mean, we have homeschooling groups.
Yes.
I want to touch, maybe we could come off of socialization just for a little bit. So I want you to explain the difference between the homeschooling groups that we have versus what seems to be popping up in terms of being called homeschooling groups, but the parents aren't the ones teaching. So it's children coming together in one person's home. There is one tutor, and that tutor is teaching them in a home.
Right.
Is that a homeschooling group? What does the ministry say? You know, what is their view on that? Have we reached to that point?
All right. Well, I'll share the information that I have. There are a number of what I would call private, mostly unregistered schools that are popping up that provide a teaching service for students who maybe learn differently need to go at their own pace, either a little slower or accelerated in various areas. They're popping up across the country. They are not home schools. They are private schools with small numbers. So they do not fall under the
umbrella of
auspices or the
homeschooling.
umbrella of homeschooling. They meet a need because not every family can become a homeschooling family. And as Lyndon said, it is really the parents' responsibility ultimately to oversee the holistic education of their children. So if as a parent, your child is in a traditional classroom and they're not coping, and you've gone in and you've worked with the teacher and they're still not coping, it is up to you as a parent to find the solution for your child. So those schools do meet a need, but they are not home schools. A home school is where the parents take the responsibility for the direct education of their children. In that homeschooling journey, you can employ the assistance of online tutors or even live tutors. I don't teach my children swimming or music or dance. I use the services of someone who is qualified in that area to do those things. However, in other subject areas, homeschool curriculum really it's designed by educators for lay people who have no knowledge of the material being taught to teach. Yes, thank God for homeschooling curriculum.
What if, let's say I wanted to go back into the corporate world, or I don't know, I have no patience or whatnot. So I've decided that I want to homeschool, but I don't want to do it. So it's one child in my home. My child is in my home, but I bring in a private tutor. Can I be considered homeschooling?
Well, the line is a little blurry. It is really private tuition, but the association would be in a better legal position to cover someone like that, provided that the tutor is suitably qualified and aligned with the Ministry of Education's requirements.
So in a situation like that, you would recommend that they still come to the Homeschooling Association, maybe be registered, so that you guys are aware that this person is going down that road? Do they go to Ministry of Education and say it to the ministry, or how do they make sure that they are handling this thing properly? That's my fear, that unfortunately you have delinquent parents who may just be taking their kids out of school, right? They don't send their kids to school they may say they don't have money, whatever reason,
reasons.
Right?
Yes.
My fear is that now people just go, well, we're homeschooling. Well, we're homeschooling. Well, we're homeschooling. Mm-hmm. That is my greatest fear. Mm-hmm. Or, again, tutors come up and say, I can tutor your kid, and I can tutor your kid, and I can tutor your kid. And again, there's no real, certification or anything like that. How do we, what is your advice for that? How do we, sort of streamline that?
The Ministry of Education ultimately provides the overall legal framework for homeschoolers or any other education institution. And so it's important that whichever method someone chooses, that they would report to the Ministry of Education to ensure that they are covered, protected legally.
Right.
The Homeschool Association does have a framework that we operate within. Yeah. So that there must be proof of what is being taught, and proof of the child's progress over time. So there is an understanding that something is being done for that child and is being done a particular way, and we can show our records of what has been done, when was it done, the testing given to that child, and the child's progress over time. So whether it's private tutoring, homeschooling, or in a private school, I think that it's important for the parent to ensure that legally they operate within the framework given by the Ministry of Education.
Awesome. Guys, we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to answer some more frequently asked questions about homeschooling, and we're going to continue to debunk some myths. Don't go anywhere. It's Care. Hi, welcome back to Care. Today it is homeschooling in TnT. Before we get back to the discussion, Jessie Lee and her crew are in Spaceship Science. Let's go see what they have to do. Science with Jess, sponsored by ICANN, is up next.
Hi, Jess! I was waiting to teach you about this experiment that we are now preparing.
Yeah, today we're going to learn about gravity.
Yes, I know what gravity is.
What's gravity?
Gravity is when, like, if I throw up a ball,
Yeah.
it will always come down.
You mean like this?
Oh, gravity hurts.
Who invented gravity?
Gravity
Who
hurts.
discovered gravity, sorry?
Oh.
Isaac Newton. That's the name you're trying to remember.
Yeah.
So today's experiment, we're going to show how gravity makes everything fall at the same speed. Okay? Everything on the planet falls at exactly the same speed. Now
Like
what
if
happens?
both of us jump.
Well, that's a good example. But if you think about it, if you guys both jump, you both fall at the same speed.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, you may be a little bit slower than him. And do you know why? What's the difference?
Because more air resistance is pushing on him.
Why is more air resistance pushing on her?
And on you. Because she's probably lighter.
Because she's bigger than you.
Why would she do that?
There's more space. Now, if I'm falling, there's a lot more air hitting me than air hitting you, right?
Yeah, because you're heavier.
I'm also plenty bigger than you.
So it's easier for air to
push
on you.
against me.
Yeah, but
Right,
if
so-
I'm like so small, air will have to.
There's
it's
less
very-
air pushing
yeah.
on you.
So I'm like, I'm falling so small.
Right? So look at this. Let's do it with an experiment. What you're going to do, you crumple up a piece of paper. And you just, don't crumple it, you just hold that piece of paper in your hand. Ball that piece of paper up. Okay? Now I want both of you guys, hold this in your hand. You hold it in your right hand. And we're going to lift it both up. And when I say let go, you both let go. Okay? 1, 2, 3, go.
Both of us.
The ball up one fell a little bit faster, didn't it? Why did it fall a little bit faster?
Because it's a lot like heavier. It's heavier, and this is like thinner. Since it's thinner, the air will like lift it, like let it. And plus, this is much bigger than this.
Look at it this way. Exactly. There's more air pushing up on this as it falls than this.
Yes,
a
because
little bit of
if
air.
it's a rock and a feather, the rock is going to be done.
And think about it. They both weigh the same.
Yeah, they
Okay.
Because they're both paper.
Right. Now, pick up your crumpled piece of paper. Now, let's try something else. Okay, guys. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show that how when the wind resistance is the same, they're going to fall at the same speed because of gravity.
Yeah.
So look at these boxes.
They're the same.
They're exactly the same. They're the same shape. They're the same size and everything. So what we'll do is you put your paper in this box and you put your paper in this box. Close them up tight. Okay, so we're going to do the same experiment again. You hold that in your hand. You hold that in your hand. Let's get close to each other. Make sure the same height. And on the count of 3, we're going to let it go. No, not higher, not higher. There you go. 1, 2, 3, go. You didn't drop it at the same time. You got to drop it at the same time.
But you said 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, let it go. Okay? So let's get the same height. 1, 2, 3. Exact same speed. Now let me show you guys it with just my hands this time as well. Because I'm going to let it go exactly the same. 1, 2, 3. So the two pieces of paper that before fell at different speeds because of wind resistance, now when they have the same wind resistance, they fall at exactly the same speed.
Well, okay.
Exactly. So that shows you how gravity is the same for everything. And if I was an octopus and I had 8 arms and I could pick both you guys up and you guys were the same size, you'd fall at the same speed.
All right, dude. You're getting another kid.
Hey, come back here.
Well, I guess that's the end of our experiment.
right, welcome back to Care. It is all about homeschooling in TnT. We have Tony, who is a homeschooler. And Tony, what do you do now? You're still schooling?
Yes, I'm still in school. I'm on my second degree. I'm doing my bachelor's in psychology. I have a company called Flawless Finishes, and we do makeup for people.
Nice.
What else do I do?
Is that why your makeup looks so flawless?
Yes.
Thank you.
I did.
Nice. Can we find you on Facebook?
Yes, you can. You can find us at flawless.info on Facebook and Instagram, and you can feel free to contact us through those channels.
All right. Shameless plugs all the way here. Right. I want to talk a little bit about things that you get answered the most. And hopefully, I don't know if this is going to help you, but maybe the next time you get phone calls, you can say, well, you know, I just did a segment on care. So maybe you can go watch that show first. Get the basics out of the way. Because, I mean, I get a lot. We have a Dear Marsha segment coming up next, right? And my most frequently asked questions are, well, they want to be a full-time mom, so how do they get into, like, how do they start a business or whatnot from home? And homeschooling, how do you start?
Yes.
They're really, the beginning questions are very basic. So hopefully we can get some of the basic frequently asked questions out of the way.
Yes.
And we can just direct them there. And that might save your voice a little bit. Yeah?
Yes.
I'm very interested in, where do you find a homeschool curriculum? I think a lot of people, I know when people see, and that's for me, I had to go by someone and see the curriculum to understand, oh wait, this is something that I can do. Because I had nightmares even doing homework.
Yes.
And now I try to explain to people that, listen, if you can do homework, you can homeschool. Because I guarantee you homework in a public traditional school setting is harder to do than homeschooling. So maybe you could go through the curriculum, like how do you start? How do you start finding a curriculum? Where do you go?
All right. So one of the first things I would do, I would talk to the family a little bit, find out their reasons for homeschooling. Sometimes the child, it might be because they're particularly bright, or they're having a challenge with the way the work is being taught, or they may have a specific learning style that is very specific to the child. With all that in mind, the general answer tends to lean towards beginning with what is called a workbook system. With a workbook system, you get a teacher manual for each subject area that you decide you're going to teach, as well as 10 workbooks.
Okay.
And those 10 workbooks contain in them all the reading material the child will need, the worksheets, daily worksheets, assessments along the way on each topic that is introduced so that you can ensure that learning is taking place. Then at the end of each booklet, there's a final test, which is a closed book test. To ensure that not only has the work been understood, but retained. I have here...
Do you have a teacher's manual with you by chance?
Right. So I bought the subject areas that I chose to teach, and then every parent is free to choose what they would like to choose, which would be math, biblical studies, language arts, science, and history and geography.
Okay.
So within these books, we would have to the back the answer key for all the daily worksheets, for all the assessments along the way, for all the final tests. If a child is unable to score, say, over 80% in a particular final test, there are alternate tests that are available. You just photocopy it. You reteach the areas where you see the learning gaps have taken place, and then you assess again. So you don't move the child on with big gaps. Yeah?
Okay.
All the definitions and formulas that you may have forgotten from primary school or secondary school, when you may have covered the material, you simply look it up and it's there for you. They give you suggested daily schedules as to how to organize your approach to homeschooling. So it is what I like to call homeschooling for dummies.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to have any background or experience in it. So this is a great place to begin.
And this is which curriculum?
This particular one is Life Pack, and it's put out by the publisher Alpha Omega. They also have a very excellent, another workbook system called Horizons.
Okay.
And they're online ones, DVD, ROM supported ones. So there is really a myriad of things that you can use. But I like to encourage people to transition from the school system, the traditional school system, into a workbook system. It kind of makes it painless.
Okay.
So after doing a year of this, you would find they would learn a little more about how their child is learning. They would meet other homeschooling families, see what they're doing, and say, oh, that science program might work well for me because I have
and that's
3
when
boys.
you may do mixing and matching.
3 boys who are hands-on. So I went on to this system. So I dropped this. My oldest, Frederick, would have gone through this science program, but my boys wanted to do. So this science one, this is the intermediate. I gave away the beginners to the Mitchells. It comes
Which is something we all, I mean,
yes,
I'm part of I'm part of a
Mm-hmm.
homeschooling group now.
Yes.
And I must say, like, I totally, I'm part of the Mitchells homeschooling group. And I love the sharing of resources. I started off just like you with that workbook, you know, you buy the whole set.
Yes.
And now this year, we did a lot of pulling and tugging and using this instead. You know, Anne-Marie, which is Lyndon's wife, for those that don't know, you know, she was like, don't use this. Because, you know, Jess was struggling with this particular spelling workbook. Try this one.
That's right.
And it's like what Tony was saying, you know, you could go far into math. So Jess does math and she just keeps going. But, you know, the reading is a little bit slower. So we pull that back and do something else. Yeah, but I started with the workbook system.
That's, and as I say, it's a good place to start, but don't just remain there. Explore what else is there. So this was CD supported because I am not a scientifically minded person. It had my teacher's manual, the children's manual, and there are kits with everything you need for each experiment. Each one of these bags are a separate experiment where they got, I mean, here we have our little car built and it has a battery to go with it, and they did multiple experiments with all these little gadgets and pieces of wood. And so they see, they do, they learn, they remember.
All right. I want to debunk a myth here.
Yes.
Right? Because all of this that you're seeing, I mean, when I open up my homeschooling curriculum, people think that I'm some kind of rich person, right? Mm-hmm. So let's debunk this myth here. How much could you homeschool for? Because I know that my homeschooling bill this year was the most expensive because, you know, I'm not scrunting too much no more.
Yes.
And I bought everything new only because for me, I felt like I wanted to start to contribute to the resource pool. Yes. Right? So it would be cool to get everything. I got a deluxe package, which is like super, you know, like every single thing, globe, everything. And that came up to 4,000 TT for the entire year.
That's right.
And that, I mean, as you said, it included bird feeder, every single thing, magnets, everything that you need, $4,000 TT for the entire year. And that was brand new.
And you have no uniforms, no walkathon, no book for the library. That's your expense. Yeah.
So
it depends. It depends how far you want to go, what exactly you want to expose your child to, and really how expensive the publishers of a particular type of material would put their material out there for. We have found that it may range between $3,000 and upwards of about $5,000 depending on what online programs you are accessing, what types of materials, books and workbooks and other helps that you are using. So yes, a homeschooler may be exposed to other costs that the typical parent may not have to deal with. However, it is the sacrifice that a homeschooling family
But do you have to be rich to
No,
homeschool?
Because
you don't have to be rich.
We share.
Yes.
So so I had 5 children, so I only had to buy one of these manuals.
Yes.
And you use the same teacher manual for each child. What was the consumable was the workbook. So with every subsequent child, the cost was less. Plus, there is, what is that place that your wife buys sunlight books on?
eBay.
Yes. With the advent of eBay.
Anne-Marie is the eBay queen.
eBay queen.
And let me tell
Where
you,
you get books
Anne-Marie
for
saves me
fraction
so
of
much money.
She saves me so much money.
Anne-Marie will say, no girl, let me tell you, don't use this, you could get $100. No, you could get it for $11. Guys, we have to go on a break. My assistant producer, Anya, let's find our assistant. Come, Anya. She's begging me to go on a break. Anya is a homeschooler. homeschooler, and she is my assistant producer, which is another benefit, of course, of homeschooling. She doesn't have to wait to finish school and finish CXC and A-levels and all of those things to pursue a passion, and is into film and photography and camera work and stuff. So she's my assistant producer.
Yeah.
Guys, don't go anywhere. It's homeschooling and care. Hi, welcome back to Care. Before we jump back into our panel discussion, we're going to hear from you. Dear Marsha segment is up next. That's where we hear from the fans. They write in with their concerns. I normally try to sift through and figure out, you know, to make it applicable to what the topic is for the day. Today it was not very difficult because I get Dear Marsha emails on homeschooling all the time.
Okay.
So let's hear what our fans have to ask. And it is sponsored by Look Opticians. Dear Marsha, on your website, you did an article speaking about the days when you worked during the day and taught chess at night. I have a demanding career, but the school system is definitely not for us. I am very organized, so I believe I can still homeschool. Is there any advice you can give? Well, I will start because I did in the beginning. I worked during the day. I was not a full-time mom. I don't know what full-time mom really even means because I still do work, but now I work from home. But I worked outside during the day, and I do actually get a few corporate moms writing in. For me, I say yes. Knowing yourself, of course, you have to know. What I used to do was we did school 7 to 9 p.m. Right, so we would take. Because I would need a little break when I get home, so I would take an hour nap to sort of like catch myself, and then we would do school 7 to 9 p.m. Of course, she didn't have to wake up early, so there was no rush for bedtime at 9 o'clock. In fact, we're like nocturnal, so she still does school in the night, you know, because if I'm taping or whatever, right? So she plays, you know, like, so it's kind of like the opposite, where you finish early and then you had your day to yourself. So, I mean, she goes and she helps in a pet shop during the day. But, of course, it means that you have to have care that you are comfortable with or whatnot to have during the day where they can, as you take them to the zoo, take them to field trips or whatever during the day. And then when we came home, I got my teacher's manual out and we worked on it. In fact, we did school throughout. We still do that. Because like Tony said, you know, it's just like a list of things that you have to get done for the rest of the year. So instead of the 2 hours, 4 days a week, we tend to do 1 hour. And, you know, Christmas time, I tell her life is a vacation. She don't wake up till 10 o'clock anyway. So I say, your life is a vacation. We don't need to stop school. So that I know there's not a lot of pressure. You know, if I'm planning something, if something's going on, you know, life happens. Parents get sick, whatever, right? Then there's not that huge amount of pressure. So let's just keep going. You know, yes, you'll take a week off in summer or whatever, you know, we'll be a little bit more relaxed. But we just keep going at it so that if we have to take time off, we're not way behind or whatever. So that is what I did in the beginning. And as I say, we still kind of do that, you know, because during the day I get care done, get everything else done, because I still do have a lot of businesses. So I'm still busy. And then when all the phone calls and everybody's not tugging at you and it's the quiet of the night, we do school. Yeah. So once you have that capacity, and not necessarily even organization, 7 to 9, but you have to have the energy after. So once you think that you can have the energy after, then I would say it's a go. I don't know.
Well, I think a certain level of organization and energy is necessary in a scenario like that. And in a scenario like that as well, it's important to have a solid curriculum that you're working with, so that even if you're not working with the school term, as you did, and also as we chose to do as a family, you know that from this point to this point has been covered within the year. How you cover it is your business. But it's covered. So whether you work through July, August, whether you work through the Easter and the Christmas vacation and you get the work done, a homeschool curriculum will support you well in that way. You'll also see when you're falling behind, and so you may need to pull brakes and say, okay, I need to commit more time to this.
Yes. No, I love the teacher's manual and that curriculum, that full curriculum, for that reason. You know,
Yes.
it really is, it sets out your 32 weeks, it sets out a list of things to get done, and so we tick. You know, we sit and we tick it. So I see, because then that way I know, okay, because I think we did Monday yesterday. Yesterday was Wednesday, but we did Monday yesterday.
Yes.
And we're going to do Wednesday to Sunday this week, right?
Yes.
But we tick, we make sure and we tick, you know, and so that we know that it's finished at the end of it.
I think something that's also useful to know, it's how much guidance your child needs. So you will have to know, okay, does my child really need me to sit down with them throughout the entire thing?
Yes.
Or because one of the things that I really enjoyed about the homeschooling curriculum is that it's laid out in a way where the child can almost teach himself. So often when I look up
I
at
have not
five,
taught Jessie Lee math up to now. It's ridiculous.
because they have everything. They teach you a concept, not just to regurgitate. So they lay it out, they give you the explanations and all the examples, and they do it in a way that a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old is going to understand it.
Yes.
So if you're that busy, but you know your child has the discipline to sit down while you're at your computer typing, you can put them behind you and let them do their work. Or if you know they need the assistance, and you say, okay, well, this hour is set aside for you on science, let's sit down and do that together.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
I think one of the beautiful things about homeschooling is that my children know from the day before exactly what they would need to do the following day.
Yes.
And so they would know their schedule with subjects, they would need to do what books they need to pull out to ensure that they're on track.
Right.
And so the discipline of managing themselves
Yes.
and managing themselves through their education, as Freddie is saying, is one of the skills that some of us adults
They learn it early.
They learn it very early. They
And I
do
think
learn that
that's a-
independent work and self-management.
When they go out to university and the lecturers are no longer spoon-feeding you, you know how to think for
It's a
yourself.
very easy
You know how to sit
transition.
down when you come in on the evening and do what your assignments. You can do that without the assistance or somebody telling you what to do.
All right.
And that is why foreign universities clamor for homeschool
homeschoolers,
students.
yes.
Because they
In
have
fact-
developed a
In fact, that is
self-study
something that I
habit.
have said to people, because people always go, so how is this going to work? How are they going to go to university? And I was like, actually, universities want homeschoolers because of the independence and their self-management skills that they have developed. We're going to go on a break. When we come back, I want you to answer social studies, that part of the curriculum. How do you teach Trinidad and Tobago? Because a lot of us are using a US curriculum. Don't go anywhere. It's homeschooling in Trinidad and Tobago. You're watching K. Welcome back to Care. We are having lots of fun behind the scenes. Yes, I keep telling my directors and them that they should just roll the camera. The more fun happens behind the scenes, unfortunately, guys. Maybe we should do like a live audience next season. Here's what, comment and let us know if you guys want to do a live audience next season, if you all want us to do this in front of you guys, okay? So, we are on our last segment. So I'm going to do like 10 questions with Bernadette.
Okay.
Yeah?
Good.
Well, I have a first question. How do you teach social studies?
Social studies, my children become tourists, all right? So I actually use Trinidad and Tobago's tourist guide as my textbook.
Okay.
And within this book, you would have all the pictures of the beautiful places in Trinidad and Tobago. We would try within our homeschool fellowship group to go visit many of these places during the course of the school term. So it's very experiential, and so they remember lots about it. And then we've got updated with this beautiful Trinidad and Tobago. It's really a coffee table book that people buy and give to their foreign friends. Oh, how can I show this properly?
It's okay. Our camera guys like the
we'll
bomb.
get it. So it just tells you all about Trinidad, the natural environment, the festivals, our independence, carnival, Diwali, Pagua, everything is covered in these tourist-oriented books. And I find they're colorful and a lot more engaging for my children.
Yeah, rather than the social
a
studies
textbook.
textbooks.
Yes.
So you go down the route of tourist books versus social studies
Yes.
textbooks. Yes, I picked that up actually in the last homeschooling meeting. You know what? Before we talk questions, we should make a plug for the next homeschooling meeting, which is actually our group is hosting it.
Yes,
It's
great.
in early March. Look out on the website. We'll put, homeschooling life.
Homeschool_life.com.
Okay. So check the website for the exact date and location.
Yes.
If you're in any way considering homeschooling, come to those meetings. To that meeting. You can get a lot of information. I mean, I was homeschooling 2 years, and I was like, that's how she teaches social studies, because I was using a social studies textbook, and it was so boring.
It is.
Now we do a lot of field trips, and so for me, it was kind of like, let's just go through this. It was almost like just a matter of putting in social studies on the list. But she was learning it just because of the hikes and whatever. So when you mentioned the tourist books and stuff, I said, yes, that is that. So that way I know I haven't missed anything. And you had spoken, I think, about Paolo
Kernahan had 2 beautiful DVDs that he has put out called The Road Less Traveled.
Okay.
Wow, those were just amazing for the children to look at. And you would even get some history out of those videos, because some of the buildings and places that he has visited
Jessie visits
are
the
no longer
Parliament
there.
channel to get the history, a lot of history. So she does, Parliament does one with Behind These Walls.
Okay.
So she goes and she looks at the Red House, and so she could tell me the Red House wasn't always red, which I did not even know until she showed me this YouTube videos. Yes. And so now she's obsessed with Knowlesley and the Magnificent Seven, and because they have done a really lovely series.
Great.
And they go through our legal system and everything. So they actually have a really good YouTube site. Now she's doing World War, West Indies at War, it's called, on YouTube as well.
Okay.
And that's a really, really good one as well. So we go to YouTube because she's very, when she's eating breakfast, here's what, instead of watching whatever you're watching, you can watch a YouTube history video, and it's really, really good.
Good,
Yes?
I'm going to use that.
Yes, try that one. That one is pretty good. That one's pretty good. Yay, I'm contributing to the group now. Okay, let's see. Is homeschooling legal in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, it is. Right in the preamble of the Constitution, enshrined there is the right of the parent to educate their child any way they see fit. The Education Act makes a provision. They want to ensure that education is taking place.
Right. Do I need to register with the Ministry of Education?
Right now, there is no formal registration process per se with the Ministry of Education. However, there is a legal pathway that you must follow. If your child is already enrolled in a school, you must inform in writing the principal of that school, copy the letter to the Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education. I advise parents to cite the homeschool curriculum that they have chosen to use, so that the ministry has the comfort that education is taking place.
Where can I find a homeschool curriculum?
Online.
Can anyone homeschool?
I would say anyone who has a strong command of the English language. You can read and comprehend. You have a certain level of organization. You don't have to be the most organized person, because I am not. You can homeschool, yes.
Okay. But certainly a decent amount of reading ability. Because
yes, you must have a strong command of the English language. If you are struggling with language, then homeschooling
but when you say
may
language,
not be.
you mean
Speaking,
not even just language, arts,
reading,
grammar, but just
comprehension.
being able to
Yes.
read properly.
Yes.
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 Okay. Can you homeschool my child for me? These are FAQs on the site, by the way.
That is a very regular
Yes.
question, and no, the answer is no, I cannot homeschool your child for you. That would make me a private tutor.
Gotcha.
You homeschool your own child.
Primary educator.
Yes.
Right. How do you homeschool children of different ages?
With great fun.
Okay.
We all sit, for my family, for the biggest part of my homeschooling career, we sat around the dining table, and each person had their various grade level books that they worked with, and I am available to the children for a block of time. And so as one has a need, you scooch over to them, you explain, scooch to the next one, scooch, and you just share yourself around.
I think
it's quite
people
fun.
think that you're actively teaching for 2 hours.
No, because as Frederick Tony would have said earlier in the interview, some students would have that self-study habit if they have grasped reading and comprehension early on. The books are designed to help them discover and learn and satiate their own curiosities as they go on. So it's only when they're stumped, they say, Mom, I don't understand this.
Right.
Or maybe when you're correcting, you see the errors and then you stop and say, okay, this is what they meant, and you teach into it and move on.
Okay. If I want to homeschool only through primary school, how do I integrate my child at Form 1?
Okay, so there are a couple ways you can do it. You can do it the route of having the child sit SCA and go into a public school, or you use a private school. I'll start with the easy one first. A private school, you simply continue to educate your child and you find out whatever the matriculation requirements for that school. They tend to have an assessment that you have to do. So you go in and present your child to be assessed, and once they're school ready, they're accepted. The other way would be through the SCA. So the term before, the September term before the child is ready to sit SCA, you go into the ministry and you register the child as a private candidate. They would be given a center number and a student number, and you simply present the child for testing. I recommend that in that term you switch from your homeschool curriculum and you begin to use SCA past papers, and you prepare the child to sit the exam just as you would any other exam.
Guys, it has been wonderful. I hope Bernadette has answered all of your frequently asked questions. Do not call her until you have gone to the website and checked those things out.
Yes.
Come with the questions after those ones, okay? Because we're going to take these questions, we're going to put it onto their website.
Yes.
So you know, if she has to answer questions, it's me and Olia, guys. All right. Look out on our website. Look out on CARE's Facebook page. So for the next meeting, which is in March. Once again, see you guys the next season, because this is our last episode for season 1. Thank you to Naturally Almond. Thank you to Target Corned Beef. Thank you to ICANN. And thank you to Look Opticians. See you in March, guys, for season 2. Bye. This episode was brought to you by Target Corned Beef and Naturally Almond.